That viewer probably went to YouTube. It's Christy, and she flips back and forth.
I'm about community, learning, discussion, respect, integrity, truth, science, and discovery. Welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. Hello, and welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. I am your friendly neighborhood ghost hunter, Justin Brown. Sorry for the little black screen delay there, but I'm working with a new camera. I had to turn it on, so now we can begin the show. Welcome to episode 23. We're going to talk about religion and the paranormal tonight. If you're a first-time viewer, this is how it works. I'm going to go over to this guest screen here, and we're going to introduce our chat moderators for this evening. What's up, ladies?
What's up?
Hi. We both wait and to see who's going to say something first, and we usually always say it at the same time.
I know, that's funny. I think that's funny. But we got Jessica Bias on YouTube and Melissa Vastine on Facebook, aka Missy. So
I was going to say, what's with the Melissa?
I don't know. Talk to your mother, all right? Talk to your mother. So here we are, episode 23. We're going to talk about religion and paranormal. You guys voted on this, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And hopefully it will be a good show. Are you guys interested about what I'm going to say and what others will say about this topic?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty interesting topic.
I thought so. What about you, Jess?
I agree. I think it's going to be very interesting as well.
Okay, well, if you guys don't know the drill, we want to know what you guys think. We want to know your questions. We want to hear your questions. I want to answer your questions, so please comment with your questions and your comments down below. We will check back with the ladies momentarily. We will give everyone who comments a shout out, and we will get to all your comments and questions this evening, and we will have a fun, interactive live stream tonight. So I will get back to you girls, all right? Okay, here we go, guys. In my opinion, religion is paranormal. In my opinion, and the definition of paranormal is universally anything that cannot be explained using science, rational thinking, anything that, isn't explainable outside of that. And religion definitely falls within that category. It fits that definition. And we'll go over the things I think apply to that. For one, spirit cannot be explained through, rational means. You can't be explained by science yet. So when we're dealing with religion, we're dealing with spirit. We're dealing with a human, an animal, a plant, depending on what religion you are, that is just a housing for the spirit. Okay? So that in itself is paranormal. So let's get that over with from the beginning. Okay, folks? There's a lot of churches, a lot of religious establishments out there that claim that the paranormal has no place in religion, which in fact, in my opinion, is really, really silly. I don't understand, but we'll go over why I don't understand. I want to know what you think. Do you believe in the paranormal? Are you a Christian? Are you Jewish? Are you Islamic? What is your religion? Do you believe in the paranormal and, are very devout in your religion? Does your church condone or, shun your religious beliefs? I want to know all these things. Okay, and we're going to talk about them. But I believe that if you're dealing with a higher power, which is the most ultimate singularity when it comes to spirit, it's really hard to deny that the paranormal doesn't apply to that. There is a lot of things in the Bible that I've read and other like the Quran and some other things. Even the Jewish texts that really, really sound paranormal to me. Okay. And we're going to talk about them. I'm not a theological expert, but I have done pretty good research. My memory's not great, but if I do fail to remember certain things, I might refer to Google. But there is many, many instances in the text that you read, the mainstream ones, that apply, or should we say relate to paranormal things. And one of them is the presence and reality of the spiritual. And then there's other entities out there. There's demons and other such things. Okay? We're gonna talk about some things that are strange in the Bible that don't always get brought up. But we're gonna try to surface things that may apply or point to the paranormal. But what are we actually saying when we ask the question, does the paranormal apply to religion? Of course it does, in my opinion. This is why. A lot of the mainstream belief is that when you pass, we're going to address Christianity. A lot of the taught Christianity is that you go into a waiting sleep. You go into a slumber, okay? And then you're awoken during Judgment Day. And that is when your spirit actually is introduced into the kingdom of heaven, according to the book of Revelations, okay? It does not say you immediately go into heaven when you pass. So all these near-death experiences, people report that they're ascending to heaven. No Armageddon, no Judgment Day happened. So that's very interesting to me and strange. But the reason why there's a lot of religions, especially Christian, out there that do not believe that the consciousness or the soul or the spirit can be contacted or interact with the living during this process before Judgment Day, is that the Bible says that's not what happens. Okay, and it says anything that you do involving spirit is most likely demonic or inhuman. And of course I believe this is false, right? And we're going to talk about a particular passage in the Bible, in Samuel, actually. The book of Samuel, chapter 28. If you're familiar with that, it talks about the witch of Endor, where Samuel has passed away, and his brother Saul had taken over for Samuel. And there was a battle about to take place, and he was very frightened. And I'm paraphrasing here, and he was so frightened about the outcome of this battle that he wanted to seek a medium or someone who can contact the dead to give him a fortune telling. Okay, so he outlawed, this type of activity in his realm. So he had to go elsewhere. One of his affiliates said, "Hey, I know this gal in Endor, outside the realm, that can help you." So he traveled to Endor and he met up with this witch, and he asked the witch to, use your power and practice necromancy, as they call it in theological terms, and see if you can get information about the future for me. So she does, and surprisingly enough, his brother Samuel manifests before him. And this is strange because the visual manifestation never happened for the witch. It was always just the voice. But there Samuel is before them, and he gives them the outcome that he desired. And he's down on the ground. He's in awe. He's, really, really surprised about all this and frightened. And God ultimately ends up punishing him for this, and he ends up, being defeated. But what's strange is, you go online, and a lot of churches, a lot of pastors are trying to interpret this passage in a different way, where God was intervening with this. But in fact, it says nothing of the sort. It says this person actually summoned the spirit. Okay, so it actually says in the scripture that this witch summoned it. So it's saying that this, in fact, happens, right? It happens. You can summon someone's spirit, according to the Bible. And what's also interesting that I'll bring up now real quick, that John the Baptist was actually, Jesus speaks about John the Baptist being resurrected and was a prophet, a resurrected, not a resurrected prophet, but reincarnated prophet. Excuse me, I'm tired. He was actually reincarnated. If you want to look that passage up that says where it says that in the Bible, you're going to have to. I cannot remember the chapter, but it does in fact say that in the King James Version. So we're going to talk about why churches, do not condone paranormal research. They do not condone the belief of spirits interacting with us, family members, people who's died in your home, people you know that's died, your friends, animals, what have you. They do not believe that in the mainstream. Okay, and we're going to talk about why. But before we do that, let's go to the shout outs. Start seeing who's joining us this evening and who wants to chat with us tonight.
I see on YouTube, Douglas Bailey, Glenda, Mothman, Deity Paranormal, and Sam is on. Glenda had a question. Why does the universe leave souls or whatever in limbo? Where does R.I.P., rest in peace, come into things?
What was the very last part of that question?
Where does R.I.P. come into things?
R.I.P.?
Yeah, as in rest in peace.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming that's what.
Let me go back to the questions here and see if I can see it. Who asked the question?
Glenda?
Glinda. Okay. Okay. Why does the universe leave souls or whatever in limbo? Where does rest in peace come into things? Okay. Well, limbo is actually from Catholicism, according to my research, and it's actually a place where unbaptized children go. Technically, theologically speaking, limbo is a place for unbaptized children. They do not go to heaven, do they not go to hell? They go to a place called limbo. But other religious sects and denominations actually use the term to describe other places, okay? But it's an alternate place, kind of like purgatory. There's other things that a lot of people use to describe a place in between heaven and hell. But in the Bible, it says that they're just asleep, that they're not conscious at all. So according to the Bible, as far as I'm concerned, someone please correct me if I'm wrong. They can point to a scripture or a passage or a book in the Bible, and we will take a look. They are just not conscious at all until the day of, their resurrection on Judgment Day, according to the book of Revelations. So that's what's strange to me. But where does rest in peace come into play? I'm not sure if I understand that question, but I'm just assuming that people use that phrase, to say, hey, it's a term to, say something nice when someone passes. They want to, make sure that when someone passes, it's peaceful, that they rest. So I think that might be something that comes from religion, and it might point to the rest that someone takes before they're resurrected, when the coming of Jesus Christ comes. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. Mothman said sometimes those who report paranormal experiences view these things in a religious context. I see no difference between paranormal manifestations and religious, mythological manifestations as well.
What was that? Religious?
Mythological?
Mythological. Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in Catholicism, they're Catholics, they report seeing the Virgin Mary a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that is definitely paranormal if they're in fact actually seeing something like that. A lot of people in the Catholic faith do believe in a lot of paranormal manifestations. So I agree with him. I think that there is very little difference, if there is any at all, with the religion and the paranormal. It's you're talking about things, like I said at the beginning, that you cannot explain in the materialistic sense and the science sense.
Right. He also just said there are many different frames of reference for the unexplained, and religious views are just another. In my
Right.
personal view, all these things are simply aspects of a larger whole.
Yeah. It's just whatever you believe. I think that someone else can believe the same thing, but can perceive it differently. And depending on what denomination or faith you choose to believe in, there's a lot of omnist views out there, especially in churches that I've been to or have seen, that they adopt other omnist views. They're saying that Islamic views align with theirs, okay, because it's the same teachings. They stem from the same knowledge, and even from the same texts. So, yes, I agree with that.
Edward just brought up, I was wondering if you believe in Jesus. Do you think that he was real and what you thought, Tony? But I think is try to prove that he is not real. I just wondered what you thought.
All right, that's a good question. There is no concrete proof that he existed, but there's nothing that's disproving his existence. Um, there's a lot of things that give me red flags about his true existence. Um, but I think it's very possible that he did exist. I think that we're dealing with people who told multiple stories of Jesus, and the stories that kind of pretty much aligned with the same teachings and timeline and history were added to the King James Version of the Bible, and a lot of them were omitted. There's a lot of books found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and a lot of them that was used by what's the country? Ethiopia. There's a lot of texts from the Ethiopian Christian versions, if you look into it, that still use Dead Scroll type texts, like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Giants, stuff like that. Um, if it's not what the Romans wanted and the Greeks wanted after they wanted to convert and pretty much pacify the let me make sure I'm right about this. Jerusalem. This was the main problem back then. So pacifying all the wars happening within that realm would be something very, very useful to them. And having a Jesus Christ figure saying, turn the other cheek, don't be violent, all those things that are, pretty much a flip flop from the Old Testament view. Is interesting, and a lot of historians think that might be the case, that it's just something that these people made up to pacify a lot of the wars happening. So hopefully that answers your
Sure.
question.
Okay, and he has one more, and then I'll pass it to Missy.
Okay.
So my other question is, what about the people that got prayed for and it's been healed? It's been healed. If he wasn't real, then how did they get healed?
That's a really good question. So what I believe is possible is, okay, if he's real, I don't know if he's real or not. I'm very objective when it comes to those things. But if he is real, then he could have the power to heal people, just like the Bible tells. If he's not real, then the power of the mind, the belief that he can do it, is powerful enough, just like the placebo effect heals your own body. Okay, if you're given a sugar pill and you're told that this medicine will heal you, and it in fact does, which occurs in medicine all the time, that could be an explanation why people pray and it turns out that someone is healed. Okay, there's been lots of scientific studies done in the medical field of this, and it is very odd that they cannot explain the placebo effect. But that's my best explanation of why that would work if Jesus was not in fact real.
Sure. Okay. That's it.
Good questions.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Missy. Anything happening? You want to shout out everybody on Facebook?
I got Derek Schreiner. I've got Josh Bender. I've got Debbie Nichols. I've got Paul Browning. I've got Sandy Griffin. I've got Frankie Reichart.
Okay.
Christy wants to know, do you think that only people who have been baptized are the ones who cross over or don't cross?
Personally, no. Personally, I believe baptism doesn't mean diddly squat. When I was baptized, I actually almost caught pneumonia.
Okay. That's all I've got, though.
Yeah, I don't have any belief in that, but a lot of people do.
I do have one more question Paul just asked.
Okay.
What happened to all the people who died before Christianity existed? Where do you think they went?
I do not know, Paul, and that's a great question. They're going to hell, Paul. They didn't know Jesus. They couldn't, they can't say that Jesus was their personal savior and ask him for, to forgive their sins and everything. So all their sins are unforgiven. That's why Jesus came, so the sins of man could be forgiven. So technically, they're in hell. They're awaiting hell, biblically.
Okay, that's all I got.
Really?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll get back to you guys, okay? All right. Like I said before, I'm not a biblical expert. I'm not, I didn't major in theology, but I have been trying to research it. And I ask the same question as Paul does. The human race has been around probably 200,000 years plus. I'm thinking that it's way longer and we just don't know because we don't have proof or any evidence of it longer. But I think it's longer than that. I think it could be double or even quadruple longer. But we won't get into that. My point is that all the religions that exist before Christianity, what makes them less valid? All the religions before the mainstream ones that were still practiced by the world today, it's weird to me that people, knowing what they know now, can still fight over their religion being the one that's true or not. A lot of churches and a lot of religious people out there do have an ominous view of those types of things. They all say that everybody pretty much worships the same God. And I think the term is monotheistic, where there's one God. And they all pretty much align with the same ethics and the same morality. Okay? And they're all going to have the same outcome when they cross over into the afterlife. Okay? But not all the religions say this. In the Eastern religions, Buddhism, and Hindus and all that, they believe in reincarnation. Okay? So that's not a mainstream religion over here where we're, when it concerns us. But a lot of people still do worship it. So I don't want to exclude those religions with varying different types of afterlife scenarios. Okay? And we can get into those. But back to the question at hand and the topic at hand. There is so many things in the Bible that seem paranormal to me that when I read them, all the burning bushes, the voices booming from the sky, the crafts and the objects seen floating down from the heavens, angelic beings, all this stuff is super paranormal to me. Okay? And I'm gonna share with you right now a story my mother told me. And of course, if you've watched my shows before, I've talked about my mother before. She's a very gifted metaphysicist, and her grandmother is full-blooded Ojibwa. So I was raised with her, Native American upbringing and her belief in that. So she tells me a story. She tells me that she's experiencing these things that psychic and mediums experience at a very young age. from the time she can remember. And she's telling her mother, she's reporting these to her father and her mother. And her mom and dad are like, okay, something's going on. Let's go to our pastor at church, see what he says. Well, they take her, and they pretty much look down at her and say, poor little farm girls don't have gifts from God that allow them to see and hear these things. So you are receiving, demonic influence. So with that information being crossed over or being presented to them, she pretty much was told to either shut up or receive extreme amounts of punishment and penalty for continuing that type of stuff. So a lot of people, they had to close it off to a whole bunch of other people, a fear of judgment, ridicule, living up to an expectation. If you're psychic, why don't you just get the winning Powerball numbers? They have an idea how the psychic phenomena is supposed to work and all that, and they have expectations for that. But my point with this story is that there is a lot of churches and religious establishments that do believe in paranormal things. They do believe they have, certain people have gifts to see the dead, commune with the dead, and a whole bunch of things. Okay, Jesus had powers such as this, and other biblical figures that I can't remember exactly, and I won't try to, name them all off. But there's all types of texts that point to paranormal things. But when it comes to the preaching and the direction that churches steer their followers and the believers is very interesting. They want all divinity and all necromantic type things to appear demonic, appear not of God. And the reason that is because a lot of people fear that if you do not possess these divine traits or divine gifts from God and they're not validated by the church, it's all demonic. All these things in the Bible, the necromancy, the fortune telling, the doing the things that they call blasphemous when you try to steer around God and you try to do God's work and put other powers and beliefs before God. That is something that is highly feared and looked at as very sinful. And that's another thing in the Old Testament that I read, that they were trying to snuff out paganism and hedonism for those purposes, because a lot of those beliefs look to shamans, look to, metaphysical leaders in their community to do things for them like that. And they wanted everything flowing to one monotheistic figure. They didn't want anything interfering with the power and control that God had over these realms and avenues of religion and spiritual belief. So I'm not going to get into, my personal belief of, how religion's used to control people and how it's used, today, even today, especially, when you look at the right side of politics in the U.S., it's definitely a tool. But as far as the paranormal is concerned, I see no difference at all with religion and the paranormal. There's just no difference. But the belief of what's paranormal is the only thing that causes debate. So it kind of looks like we might have some stuff going over here in the comments. We'll go back and we'll refer to them.
Who do you want to go first? Okay, I'll go first. Frankie said, let me see if I can find it in here. He said, to add to Christy's question about the baptism. Yeah. I can't see that. I really can't see that.
Okay, whose comment is it?
Frankie's.
Frankie's. Let me look for it. Frankie, to add to Christy's question about baptism, wasn't baptism just a step for Jesus? He was going to be baptized till it became a stepping stone for him to gain acceptance. What do you think? Okay. About baptism, what wasn't baptism just a step for Jesus? Now, baptism, according to my research, was going on before Jesus. Okay. He wasn't going to be baptized till it became a stepping stone for him to gain acceptance. What do you think? I'm going to actually refer to Google real quick, so bear with me. Bear with me real quick, okay? I need to refresh my memory. Okay, when did baptism come to be? Okay, John the Baptist adopted baptism at the central sacrament in his messianic movement, seen as the forerunner of Christianity. Baptism has been a part of Christianity from the start, as shown by many mentions in the Acts of Apostles and Pauline epistles. So, yes. This was actually, I'm trying to answer your question. So, is it a stepping stone? According to Catholicism, you have to be baptized in order to be accepted into the kingdom of heaven. And a lot of Baptist Christians believe that. Okay, so it is a requirement. I don't know, I wouldn't label it as a stepping stone, but it is a requirement. I guess you could say it's a stepping stone. It's a stone you have to step on to get in, beyond where you were. So it's not about gaining acceptance. It's about gaining acceptance into the kingdom of heaven. Absolutely. Okay, I hope I answered that question. Go ahead. Let's see.
Okay. Paul Browning said, read The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. Pretty eye-opening.
Billy Fingers. What the hell?
He said Billy had a horrible life and did lots of bad things. In the end, it didn't matter.
The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. Okay. The problem is retaining all this information, because I've actually done years of theological study, and it's hard to remember everything because there's so much damn information.
Sandy Griffin said, "Oh wow, horrible to be treated that way." When you were telling the story about your mom.
Oh, it happens a lot, unfortunately.
Right. Paul said, personally, I feel that religion was a means to civilize man through fear.
Yes, and a lot of historians believe that they're actually trying to pacify, the Jews. They were trying to get people, from the Jewish faith to convert over into Christianity, which they did. A lot of Jews still remain Orthodox to the Jewish faith, but most of the Christians in that era were from Judea. They were Jewish. And a lot of them were Roman, and a lot of them were others. But I believe that, well, I don't know if I believe it, but a lot of historians think so.
And then Matt Benton wants to know, he said, tell us your belief, Justin. What do you believe?
What do I believe as far as God's concerned and religion?
Yeah, I think that's what he meant.
Okay. I believe in reincarnation. I believe I align with a lot of the Eastern beliefs. I don't believe in any type of gods per se. I don't personify entities, divine entities like that. I do believe that there is a lot of things out there that are physical, like, highly advanced species of aliens that might have something to do with our coming as far as a people and a civilization, but I wouldn't call them gods. Other people would. I believe in reincarnation 100%. I do not believe that people just are born, they create a soul when they're born, and then they die and their soul lives on forever. That makes no sense to me. I kind of subscribe to a cyclic type universe where everything is a circle, everything's flowing and going round and round and round, and everything comes back. I don't believe that, infinite amounts of souls keep flooding in, because now that we know that the possibility of other life, being present on possibly billions of planets out there in space, I mean, that paints a different picture, because back when this religion was established, they thought that the sun revolved around Earth, and that we were the only species to be deemed worthy of such an afterlife. So I believe that these type of religions don't apply. A lot of people would disagree with me because they like to hang on. They don't like to change their minds about such things. They believe that it will hinder their faith if they change their mind, if they doubt the word of Jesus Christ and they doubt the word of God. So that creates an interesting scenario for our culture when people are stuck into certain mindsets about religion. But I think if you don't learn and grow spiritually, that if you don't leave room for change and learning and looking at different viewpoints, I think that causes a lot of conflict, and that's actually bad for our culture. And which is, the evidence of that is shown through holy wars and, use of religion and with government and power positions. So I believe in a God, Matt, but I don't believe in it as something that remotely resembles me at all. If you would ask me to describe what I believe a God is, I can't. I believe that the only thing I can do is everything that's living, everything that we think is just material and inanimate objects, I think all that has energy. I think it all has a consciousness, whether it be vastly different from ours. I think all of that is part of one higher being. As, an analogy would be all of the cells in my body, I believe all have separate individual consciousnesses, but are all part of me. So we are the cells of a larger being. And that's the best I can do for you.
Okay, I have one more question.
Okay.
Heather Elliott wants to know. She said, I'm not an expert on this, so sorry if this is a dumb question, but why is it that exorcisms are only a Catholic thing?
Okay. The reason why it's a Catholic thing, it's not only a Catholic thing. The only people that think it's only a Catholic thing is Catholics. Okay? Other churches and other faiths and denominations do exorcisms, but Catholics like to say that those aren't actual exorcism because it's like a rite of the Catholic Church only. The Catholic Church likes to, overpower and control all of that. So my first answer to your question is it's not only a Catholic thing. If you believe in the power of exorcism through the rite of your religious, beliefs, why wouldn't it work if the other, version of the exorcisms for Catholics work? But I think that the Catholic Church is the ones who are most notoriously known to, have rituals, have, these codes and protocols in place to remove demonic infestations from the human body and from places and from homes and areas that demonic infestation occurs. I know Matt Bitten's in the chat. He's done extensive research on this subject. If you want to message Matt, he may have some other insights on this, but I don't think it's only a Catholic thing.
Well, the whole question was, I'm not an expert on this, so sorry if this is a dumb question, but why is it that exorcisms are a Catholic thing only? Is it based on their beliefs, or are they the ones that are trained to do it?
Oh, I see.
To do this, can Baptists do exorcisms? I would assume any denomination could do them, or do I just watch too many horror movies?
Okay, the better answer to your question is some Baptist churches I've seen do exorcisms. Okay, it just depends on their church. What I think is weird is there's a lot of churches that claim to be under one denomination, but they're under their own separate cult. Okay, they can believe whatever the heck they want to. They don't necessarily have to answer to a hierarchy of other Baptist religions. They're not like overseen and managed by a super Baptist, church. So you can label yourself whatever denomination and do exorcisms. Okay, I've seen it so many times. So the answer to the question is they can perform exorcisms, but according to the Catholic Church, they're not valid because they're not recognized by the Catholic Church and trained by them to do a correct exorcism.
And that's all I have for right now. All I know is Jessica's hair fell out of her head and ended up on her chin.
Her hair fell out.
Josh took over.
And now Josh is using it as part of his beard.
Yeah.
Awesome. Josh, are you allowed to talk about this hair incident? Please tell me you're allowed to talk about this hair incident. Josh, can you hear me?
Josh, unmute yourself.
Yeah, you're muted, buddy. You're still muted.
How's that?
You're awesome.
There we go. She just kind of been here. So.
You look tired, bro.
Oh, a little bit. I'll be all right.
Okay, YouTube. We cannot forget about YouTube and their awesome questions and comments.
We do have quite a bit here. Mothman says, human interpretation seems to be the only real thing separating these experiences. Spiritually or unexplained anomalous phenomenon might just be an inescapable part of our flawed human perception.
Man, I love that. Let's put quotations around that, and we'll say, Mothman, historian, underneath it. Yes, dude, that was beautifully said. It's the definition of what an anomaly is something that we can't explain. It's something that is not explainable and not perceivable, and relatable to, what normally happens in our reality. And, we deal with anomalies all the time. Doesn't mean that it's what we think it is, but like you say in your statement, it's just an aspect of our perception, or maybe our flawed perception. Or maybe it's just, the nature of our perceiving reality.
So we have Sam says, I believe that what your religion, your higher power, has a lot to do with how you feel and deal with spirits.
Yes, I agree with that, because spirituality is very important, and this is why. I believe when you actually die, your belief in a higher power is very crucial in your self-evaluation period, because in a lot of near-death experiences, almost all of them that deal with your life flashing before your eyes, and the self-evaluation is you have to deal with the things that you've done wrong. This is your final moment to deal with them. Can you cross on? Can you pass on? Can you lay your head down at night, essentially, knowing you've done these things to these people or the things in your life? And how you come to terms with that spiritually to yourself is one thing, but how you view yourself to your creator is another. So there's an interesting thing there that you have to deal with. It depends on your spirituality. If you do not look at yourself as a self-evaluator, you should, because we self-evaluate all the time. That's what, the ego does. And I think when the brain begins to die, your ego is one of the last things that really step in to really, leave their footprint on your life. And it's not God. Okay? God gave us free will. So the ego knows this. and the ego steps in right before our body ceases to be conscious. So how spiritually sound you are has a lot to do with what happens after. I could go on about that, but you guys get it.
We have the Jen Rogue jumped on. She said, I had a nice lady visit me, but she was pretty badly brainwashed, Jehovah Witness. I was going to go one day. That happened to be the day where only the 144,000 can have bread and wine.
Mm-hmm.
So she said she did not go. And then Mothman says, it's a shame that the paranormal is stigmatized by some, leading to the study of it often being hidden. Some people simply misunderstand the views of others, and it leads to unfortunate situations.
To shorten that up, fear sucks. Fear is the mind killer.
Then Jen Rogue says, I wouldn't have been receptacle to brainwash either, but I did want to meet people and talk. I left an Easter egg for her son as he was older. Another lady hid it. She didn't get it until 1 month later. Strange folk.
Don't get me started on Easter and other types of religious or holidays like that, because stuff like Christmas and Easter doesn't even belong to Christianity. They just assimilated Jesus and God into paganism and other hedonism beliefs. So yeah.
Another one from Mothman. Linda Scarberry, after her Mothman sighting, sought help from the church, but they laughed and ignored her.
Of course they did.
Closed-mindedness and complacency in our own viewpoints is a problem among all of humanity.
Yes. We all should have an open mind. We all should have an open heart. We should never let a religious, church or group or power dictate how we treat people, how we view supernatural occurrences. What's very disturbing about a lot of Christian beliefs out there is they're very judgmental when it actually teaches people not to be judgmental. A lot of people judge you based on their ego, not based on their, trying to be Christ-like. So I think if people spent most of their time trying to actually be Christ-like, they would find themselves being more forgiving and more open to a lot of people, and their religion wouldn't suffer because of that, and their turnouts to their churches and whatnot be as horrible as they are.
Let's see. Mothman says, sorry, I have more statements than questions on this topic.
Sounds like he's asked plenty of questions himself, answered them.
And there's just some more conversation going on. Glenda says, very balanced, Mothman. And Jen Rogue says, they had it the wrong day, too. I'm assuming she's talking about Easter or Christmas.
Right. That's right. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to pick apart. Was that all there, Josh?
Yes, that's all to this point.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and you can mute yourself back again. All right, so lots of interesting things. I love everything that Mothman Historian is saying. Very insightful, very, very, very thought-provoking. He's spent a lot of time thinking about this. A lot of people on the chat tonight and people I've talked to have spent a lot of time thinking about this. And I think the paranormal, if you want to believe in the paranormal, I think it has a place if you align yourself with a certain belief, a certain denomination of Christianity, or, monotheism, I think you're fine. Okay. One of my best friends, Diana Wolf, she is a Christian. She is a spiritualist. Okay. She believes in the Bible, but she believes in the paranormal, and she believes both are under the same, umbrella as far as reality is concerned. So if you have paranormal, occurrences, if you're experiencing things, please do not let a church tell you that you're experiencing the demonic. Please don't let them tell you that you are a liar, that you're hallucinating. Okay? It's just wrong for them to do that. If they're so sure, they should actually investigate your claims. In some churches, very, very small numbers do this. They will actually go to your home and investigate those things. So if you think that your church that you belong to is good, they should investigate your claims of the supernatural. They should help you, okay? That's what they're there for. If they turn you away, if they point a finger at you and judge you, get another church, is what Justin Brown says, okay? But we got 5 minutes left. Let's see. Yeah, hypocrisy is pretty common. That's what I definitely agree with. That Mothman says this is quite the philosophical topic for a live stream. A lot of big ideas discussed around the subject matter. Liking it so far. Yeah, man. This show is pretty much designed for me to kind of like talk out of my ass, so to speak. I don't really script things, and like I said, I'm not an expert on the subject, but I've studied it, so I could write up a really, really well-written article about this, but I really want this show to kind of be non-scripted. I want to get the feedback from you guys and kind of interact with you, and I feel like if I script it all up, it would really, really compromise my ability to interact with what you guys are saying and keeping it real. So I have learned a lot, but I can't, the whole religious stuff is hard to retain for me because I love science, but I love the aspect of the unknown and that the science part of the materialistic world doesn't explain all of that. So I love trying to find things to explain the unexplainable. Like that's what keeps me up at night. But we just can't explain everything. Just can't. But it doesn't stop us. So as long as we keep trying, we'll keep finding out new things, we'll keep learning, and I want everybody to come along with me with the ride. I have group members, I have a paranormal team, but I want you guys to be influencing me. I want you guys to be a voice to my own paranormal research. I want you guys to matter to whatever it is that's out there, because we're all a part of this. We're all, it affects us all. So I'm really, 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 really appreciative that you guys are here to talk to me about each and every week about these topics that we choose to speak about on the show. And I think it's great. And I know we have a couple more minutes. Is there anything on Facebook that we need to address real quick before we wrap the show up? Let's see.
Nope. Matt said I can give you a huge list of religions that perform exorcisms. Even third world countries like Africa perform their own version of exorcisms and in voodoo, etc.
Okay. Awesome.
And Sandra Griffin said I like keeping it real.
I do too. I'm just an average Joe. I'm nobody special. I have a live stream. You may not have a live stream, but you have the internet and you get to talk to me and we get to discuss what we love and what we wonder about. And that's awesome, ain't it, Missy?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Josh, anything on YouTube before we close this sucker out?
Not really. The Jen Rogue said, "So glad I did not go. It would have been so frustrating." She's talking about
The Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes, to the Kingdom Hall. She also said, she also said, "Who needs a church anyway? Mine is everywhere."
That's right. Jesus said that. Jesus said that, God is in the rocks They're in the dirt, they're in the mountains, they're in the wind. I'm just paraphrasing, but if that's true, then church is irrelevant. Right, Josh? Uh-oh, there goes my camera. I was wondering when that was going to happen. Oh, I gotta push it again. It's not working. Did my camera die? Hold on, folks. I think my camera died. It shouldn't have. I see the... Yeah, my battery's dead, so... I'm just going to have to turn that off. And hopefully we get the... Here, I'll just click on myself here and blow it up. Oh, that's the wrong one. So...
This should be the last time you have to do that. Your other camera should be in.
I told you that it would... I told you this is going to be irritating. But, what can I do, right? All right, so there you have it, guys. Thanks for joining me. Every time I live stream, there's parts of you out there that watch every one of them, and that's awesome. But for the ones who don't, it's great when you have time to stop by and say hello. If you are a new viewer, I really, really appreciate it. Josh, Missy, Jess, Derek, all the ones that help me with the show, I really, really appreciate it. I mean, your loyalty and passion for the stuff that we're doing is unwavering and very appreciated. So you guys are awesome. So let's go over. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to turn this on, move it over. This is annoying. Okay, let's talk about Patreon before we sum this up, guys. What is Patreon? Well, it's a crowdsourcing website that allows your followers and your fans to support you financially and get rewards. So if you like this show, you like what you see on our YouTube channel and on our social media platforms as far as video production, live streaming, etc., science, all that stuff, you can support us financially, whether it be $1 a month or more. Okay, there's tiers that you can do and more rewards you get according to how much you pledge each month. So all these names you see on the screen here, they make it happen. They make this possible, right? Christy Brown, Clay Borman, Matthew Jackson, Matt Benton, Danette Goldtrip, Landon Wells, Paranormal Research Team, or Response Team rather, Gwendolyn Guthrie, Jessica Bias, RJ Murphy, Liz Coy, Bill Davis, Scotty Fox. They make sure that this content keeps going, stays the same, and keeps getting better. So thank you very much, and a huge shout out to them. And there you have it. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Next week, we have a new topic coming up. But if you want more stuff from us, we have a Necromancer live show podcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Eddie Hill, he has been a sergeant in the law enforcement for over 25 years, I think. He's been a paranormal researcher for over 20 years. He's got a whole line of interesting things in his bio. We're going to speak with him tomorrow night on Interface Death YouTube channel and the Necromancer Live Show Facebook page. So if that sounds interesting to you, check that out. And I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much, guys. You have a good one. You can stick around for some video promotion if you have not seen it, or if you'd like to watch it each and every time. We appreciate it. You guys have a good one. I'll see you next time.
What was that?
I don't know.
Generally, Justin, when you guys investigate, do you just take long pauses, wait to see if you hear things, observe everything that's going on?
It depends on the location and our experience with the location. So in this case, at Waverly Hills, since we've been here before, we've heard a lot of stories, done a lot of research, and investigated. We typically like to listen a lot because we hear the coughing, we heard it last time, so we didn't hear it again.